Good evening, folks. Welcome to the Joko Conversation we're going to have tonight as we are dealing with the aftermath of the national election. Um, and, what's next? Where do we go from here? I'm going to bring on my comrade and partner, Tasha. Greetings, Tasha.
Greetings, good brother, comrade, and partner Yusuf, and greetings to anyone. We have our good brother James Simmons waiting in the waiting room, waiting to come on and join us. And so we always um, take a moment in our welcome to acknowledge that any of this work that we are doing as children of Africa on the behalf of the liberation of African people. We do on the unceded territories of indigenous people. And because we are in the LA area, um, those people are the Tongva. Okay, and this we are in Tongavar, unceded indigenous territories where the people are doing diligent work to preserve their cultural ways, to preserve the integrity of these ecosystems, to preserve the integrity of the land, um, and to preserve their human dignity. And it is encouraging and refreshing anytime we are in the company of the indigenous people of this Turtle Island who are about it, who are about it, and are steadfast and have been successful in that preservation of culture and have made such dynamic strides in the expression and practice of that stewardship um, in many ways that they have been able to get in, and sneak in between the cracks and seep in between the cracks and successfully reconstitute land that has been declared devastated, by the environmentally unconscious, environmentally dead, um, extractive, you know, disposal oriented culture and society that has been built over this turtle island. And so we absolutely give that acknowledgement and know that anything that we do with the permission of the ancestors of them that are watching over this work. Yes.
Yeah,
We fundamentally know that we are what
yeah.
stolen people on stolen land.
Stolen land. So, Tasha, are you saying
Sure.
then that the Joko Collective is in favor of the land back movement?
I think I'm saying that. I think I'm saying Joko Collective is absolutely an ally and in favor of the land back movement. We
Yes,
are,
land
as
back.
children of Africa that have embraced some
Hmm.
principles, old principles of how Africans do things. The first thing is truth. If you want to make
Hmm.
anything right, you got to make it right? You can't build on a faulty foundation. So all of this
Hmm.
foundational Black American and all of this kind of any kind of stake that we never mind the notion that we are the indigenous people and
Right,
these other people are just some kind of strange imposters. Never mind
right,
that. You
right.
um, is absolutely we absolutely and categorically reject all of that
Yes,
nonsense and support our
yes,
indigenous brothers and sisters in all of their efforts to reclaim their land.
yes. So we say land back Turtle in Turtle Island, land back in Hawaii,
Land
in
back.
Wuhan, land back
Yes.
in Palestine, land back
Yes.
throughout the African continent, land
Yes.
back in what's called Australia, land back in New Zealand, land
Yes.
back in Kanaki, what they call New Caledonia, land back. Yeah.
Land back.
Land
Bottom
back.
line, land back.
Land back in Northern Ireland, right? Land
Right
back.
on. Right on. You know, and they say it's impossible. History is history.
Mm.
It's convenient for them
Think
and their
about
group
history. It's
and all of
dynamic.
that.
Right?
Right?
We're always in the process of making it.
Always in the
History.
process of making it. Right on. Right on. We love that. And we bring on our good brother James Simmons. Hello, good brother James Simmons.
Greetings, greetings. And as the colonizers would say, we stole this land fair and square.
Yeah, that's right. And they do say that.
Of course.
It's often their
Yes.
argument.
Yeah, so, I don't know what you all are complaining about.
So, but
Yeah,
I mean,
with
really,
it.
that means, everything's up for grabs then, right? It can be stolen back fair and square, so to speak.
Stolen
Right?
back, broken back. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there needs to be a realignment. People are talking
Mhm.
about the realignment of the Democratic Party. There's been a
Mhm.
realignment of the government.
Mhm.
And I think we need a realignment of everything. We need a
Mhm.
realignment of social relations. We need a
Mhm.
realignment of the economic structure.
Mhm.
This
Yes, sir.
and they say, well, if it was stolen fair and square, like you said, we can take it back fair and square.
Right.
I would hate to do it the way they did it, but
Right.
oh well.
People,
Yeah.
hopefully people will leave some better alternatives.
Yeah.
Right, there are even I'm learn more about this movement, but there is even a movement among Europeans and anti-colonial, and we're not even talking about the anti-colonial, anti-imperialist, the usual anti-colonial, anti-imperialist,
Mhm.
European left activists, but this whole other movement that is like explicitly anti-colonialism, anti-European colonialism,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
European go home kind of stuff. And I don't know that they are, to what extent they're anti-racist. This is just something I came across. You have a little aha as you're doing your thing on the internet about this group, but I'm gonna learn more about them because they're about Europeans taking themselves back to Europe in the spirit of
Mhm.
anti-colonialism.
Sort of their version of repatriation as a
Yes,
corrective to settling.
as a corrective.
Interesting.
Yes, and
Yeah.
so it's
Hey,
kind of
if that's,
it's quite
as you
intelligent.
said, you're going to look more into it. But that would,
Yeah, yeah,
seems like something should be able to get behind, if,
yeah.
you know, depending on, what the layers reveal.
What the layers reveal, but
Yeah.
it sure is a good idea. In
It's
fact,
first a good
there's
idea,
nothing wrong
right?
with the sentiment. There's
Yes.
nothing wrong with the sentiment. And before we go on, since James hasn't said anything about himself, we'll do a little short bio, though by now anybody who has watched Joko Collective with any regularity knows our good brother James. But James Simmons is a human rights attorney, a professor in the Africana Studies Department at California State University, Northridge. He is a political activist and has worked for human rights and self-determination of oppressed people and against exploitation and oppression of people by individual predators, organized oppressors, and governments over the last 5 decades. He is also a firm believer in training and organizing for personal and collective self and community defense. And our official welcome to our good brother James Simmons.
Thank you. That sounds so extravagant.
Yes, doesn't it?
Well
Right.
earned.
For such a,
I wish
yes,
I.
and
I said
go
I wish I
ahead.
could live. I hope I live up to that. All that
Yes.
talk.
And actually, absolutely, you do. And so, we always wait for your humble disclaimers. Like, oh no, not I. Oh no, not I.
Yeah, they are not disclaimers. I tell you, I feel sometimes so unintellectual being around you people.
I know the feeling. Yeah. You just,
Or the what is it all for? But no, James, you are one that gives us, I'm not talking about Yusuf and I personally, though Yusuf and I personally, but for the community, you give us courage, you give us heart, you lead by and energize,
mhm.
by your example and by your work. So you absolutely deserve all that accolade. You deserve
Uh,
that accolade, and it's from the heart every
okay,
time. Okay.
That's
Okay.
right.
I'll
Right
take
on.
it.
So
I'll take it. But
good.
one of the things that in terms of the you said the take back the land
Yeah.
Hmm.
or give back the land. There's a song during the anti-colonial struggle in Namibia, and there's a singer Jackson. I can't really remember his last name, but he had a song, "Give Me Back." Give me back, Namibia, my
Mm.
Hmm.
country. And
Mhm.
I thought that what you
Hmm.
were talking about. Yes,
Hmm.
give back the land to the people who were there. Uh, if you want to build a white supremacist society, go back to where you came,
Where,
Yes.
where it's safe.
where the resources of that meager bit of the western tip of Asia
Hmm.
Mhm.
was destroyed, and the natural resources destroyed.
Mhm.
All
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
rhinoceroses killed. All the lions. He said
Hmm.
Richard the
Mhm.
Lionhearted killed all the lions.
Mhm.
Damn near killed
Mhm.
everything.
Hmm.
And
Mhm.
um, instead of conserving resources, this whole idea that they were given dominion over the earth and the
Yeah.
seas and the life and everything else, and just wasting it,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
going out and conquering other lands and other people and
Yeah.
forcing them to work and taking their resources and uh, decimating populations, entire continents of people. It's like we're going to clear the people out, and you clear the people out of several continents, declare
Mhm.
yourself a
Mhm.
continent, even though you're only the
Right.
tip of Asia.
You're really
Mhm.
only a peninsula of Asia.
Mhm.
Yeah, a
Mhm.
region,
Mhm.
and uh,
Mhm.
the idea that to not just reparations, but giving back the land. Uh, but it's not going to give back the
Mhm.
land. It's going to have to be, I think, take back the land.
Hmm.
It's going to have to be um, a little more than just, hey, you've fattened yourself like a tick off the land for the last 500 years. We
Mm.
want you to
Mm.
give it
Yeah.
back, and I don't think that's going to
Yeah.
happen. It's going to have to be a
Yeah.
very long uh, struggle.
Protracted struggle. Yeah.
Protracted
Yeah.
struggle. Take your hooks out. Take out
Hmm.
your fangs. Take out your hooks. Stop
Mm-hmm.
digging. Stop sucking. Stop
Yeah,
extracting.
Hmm.
Yeah.
and
But
release
that's all right.
all the treasures and pay back all that you've stolen. But again, like I said,
Right.
they don't think they've stolen it. Or even if they know they've stolen it, they'll never admit it
Mhm.
They won't admit it.
Mhm.
by themselves.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
that's too much to wish for, to live humbly, like the people you've been
Mhm.
oppressing for 500 or so years. But we'll see.
Right.
We
Mhm.
will
Yeah.
see.
We
We
will
gonna
And
see.
see.
and
That's it.
We sally forth.
And that's
Uh-oh.
what James will be back. I'm seeing
Yeah.
a message that his device disconnected. So when he
Yeah.
comes back on, I'll put him back on stage. But I was about to say that, yeah, that, we will see, right? And that's why we're here tonight, right? To think about what's next and what are we getting ready to see, after this election, now that this election is over. And James, I was just saying, right before you dropped off, I was about to say that, we will see, and that's what we're talking about, right? What we expect to see now that the election is over. Now that Trump not only won the Electoral College, but actually won the popular vote, right? Which unusual for a Republican president, but says something, right, about, or maybe it's saying the same old things that people, want to wish isn't the case about this country, right? About the United States, what the electorate actually wants, right? Because I don't think Trump was unclear about his plans, right? Even if he was not detailed, if he only has certain concepts of plans, he's still clear about what the plan is, right? So.
And certainly the movement for whom he is a face and a token, and in some ways a lucky charm, how he,
Mhm.
lucked into this position, this kind of, what is the word? Does he have star quality? Whatever it is, the appeal of Donald Trump is
A
um,
certain kind of
that
charisma.
he's strangely this kind of charisma, right? This kind of strange kind of charisma that he has, that is talked about by by the people who have critiqued his character. It's like we don't know why. He's always been a horrible
He's
individual,
always been
and
a horrible person. Yeah.
he's just like he's just like a bad penny. He's just like some kind, there he is, there he is, there he is, and always in the
Hmm.
spotlight. But
And that
yeah,
spotlight is important, right? He's a celebrity.
yeah, yeah. And
Yeah,
there's
a
so much,
reality show host.
Hmm.
a reality show host. There's so much to be said about Pump Trump as a persona.
Hmm.
Why can't I talk? But Trump as what is it? Pump. I'm gonna call him Pump. Trump as so emblematic. He's such an appropriate
Hmm.
representative of
Hmm.
the American culture,
Of the
in its
United States.
hollowness,
He really is.
in the, what I'm saying,
Yeah.
in its criminality, in its celebration of criminality, in its, the whole slickster,
Yeah. Yeah.
fraudster, you know,
Venal,
Huckster.
tacky, just, yeah.
huckster, all of that
Shallow.
wrapped up. Say,
Yeah.
go ahead.
No, just
All of that.
all the things we're saying.
Yeah,
Shallow,
all of these things.
how should I say? Proudly ignorant.
Proudly
That,
ignorant.
what, hypocritically religious, right? Just
All of that.
performative religion. All of it. Yes. Cruel,
And
right? Just,
there's,
yeah.
yes, and there's something about it that is so apropos. you know it has a poetic
Yeah.
quality to it. you
Yeah.
know this dude is America. This, what is it, some sister wrote a book, and there's a lot of talk, also among the white anti-racists, about white mediocrity and the
Hmm.
whole, the mediocre white man complex,
Hmm.
and the centering, of these folks. So, I mean, in the Trump persona, we find, just so much of what it is, what this the American persona, what is this Americanism thing really
Hmm.
about,
Yeah.
so appropriate head. And so, yeah, we're, prepared to dig in tonight to raise the questions, talk about some of the things that everybody's talking about, and then talk about some of the things that folks aren't talking about yet, because it's all, of course, very about these electoral politics, and the, at most is the duopoly useful or whatnot, but folks aren't talking about enough who are these people, and what is it that they actually want. They, even if you hear conversations about um Trump's nod to Orban, or
Mm-hmm.
the admiration expressed by so many of his, cronies for Orban and other, and similar dictators, and the, all of the
Mm-hmm.
nods that have been given all the years that he's been campaigning since 2016 to all of the um, fascist, white supremacist movements across Europe, you know
Yeah.
um, there's not there's not even a conversation about that, and that's right for the
Mm-hmm.
picking. That's low hanging fruit,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
But
Not the kind of conversation, Tasha, you seem to have frozen. I don't know if you are hearing me, but yeah, you're frozen.
okay, but yeah, in terms of the
There, you're back.
what's happening logically, okay, in terms of where these the mindset of these people really is, and what
Mm-hmm.
we're looking at, that, that's what we want to dig into.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and at some point, because we invited our brother and former Joko Collective member Dawood Khalik to come on and talk a little bit about what role voter suppression um, may have played in this election, because he's been studying voter suppression for as long as we've known him, and that's a decade, and he's been following Greg Palast's work for that long, who is right the whose name is maybe synonymous with the study of voter suppression in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
And so at whatever point I can do it now, I can do it at whatever
I think
point.
why don't you go ahead and do it now?
Go ahead and do it now. I'll go ahead and
Yeah.
do it now. Because we don't have our dear brother
Yeah,
Daoud
and I just
this
checked,
evening.
I still don't see a response from Dawu, and he wasn't sure about this Thursday either, right? He
So
wasn't
there
able to
we have it. We
confirm.
have our
So,
answer, right? So, and if no one has an objection to or a critique of Palace's work, um, then I will go ahead. For anyone who doesn't know or who isn't familiar, who's watching with Greg Palast, I'm taking stuff directly from his blog, including his little short bio, um, Palast, and his hat, because he looks kind of
mhm,
like the Night Stalker. Remember that
mhm,
program? Kind of
yeah.
looks like the Night Stalker, right? Um, Palast and his hat have been seen on over 2,000 media appearances, Pacific Radio Network broadcasts, and his weekly election crimes bulletin. Palast is known for complex undercover investigations spanning 5 continents, from the Arctic to the Amazon, from the Congo to California, using the skills he learned over 2 decades as an investigator of corporate fraud on behalf of the U.S. Department of Justice, 20 attorneys general, and governments from England to Brazil. Palast, who earned his degree in finance at the University of Chicago, studying under Milton Friedman, has led investigations of multi-billion-dollar frauds in the oil, nuclear power, and finance industries for governments on 3 continents. And has an academic side. He is the author of Democracy and Regulation, a seminal treatise on energy corporations and government control, commissioned by the United Nations and based on his lectures at Cambridge University and the University of Sao Paulo. For anyone who needs some credentials kicked. Okay, he knows of what he speaks. He knows how to get at information. Right, he's got the views. So going to his blog dated November 6th, right? And this question of what influence voter suppression can have had, right? And so he says, did Donald Trump actually win this election? And if so, was it really a landslide? And he answers it this way, and with proper restraint, he says, not having, at this point done close investigation, but he frames it this way. In the last presidential, according to the official count of the Federal Elections Assistance Commission, 2.7 million provisional ballots were rejected. Whose ballots? If you're Black, Hispanic, or Asian American, the chance that you were shunted to one of these provisional ballots is 300% higher than if you were white. How many Black ballots were thrown in the electoral dumpster? As a former professor of statistics, I know there's still a lot of sleuthing in the numbers that I have to do, but I can tell you this: the number of rejected provisional ballots, the number of voters wrongly purged from the rolls, the number of ballots spoiled, quote unquote, and not counted has unquestionably skyrocketed. The result? This is the most Jim Crow, racially bent election that I've covered in 25 years of reporting. Just one Trump-backed group, for instance, True the Vote, signed up a posse of 40,000 of self-proclaimed vote fraud hunters who 2 months ago had already challenged the ballots of 850,000. There's a little bit more than that, but 850,000 plus voters, overwhelmingly citizens of color, with the goal, undoubtedly met, of challenging 2 million by this week, which could disqualify, or he poses the question, could disqualifying literally millions of ballots affect an election's outcome? Vigilante challenges are a whole new racist weapon, new to 2024. And I heard him in an interview where he's describing this challenge. And since essentially it's a delaying tactic, so that if I challenge your vote, which is something that can be done without cause, or you don't have to present any evidence, you can just challenge someone's vote, and there is a process now that it has to be gone through to justify that vote, which of course delays the counting of that vote.
Right.
Right? So if it's delayed for a month or what have you, great, for the purposes of not having a vote counted. Same with mass purges: 400,000 in Georgia, 1.2 million in Texas, way over 10 million removed from the voter rolls overall. No other advanced nation does this, erasing voters' rights to cast a ballot. And may I remind you that in a technical report for the ACLU, in which the Palace team's experts literally reviewed every single name on the Georgia and Wisconsin purge lists, we found that Georgia wrongly removed a third of 1 million voters, basically 333,000 folks, and Wisconsin had removed tens of thousands. Could this bend an election? Of course, you're right. So he's throwing out these rhetorical questions.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's the issue.
And just to clarify, he's that quickly, right, talking about the election that just passed on Tuesday.
Well, what he's talking about is the election. Yeah, no, he is talking about the election that just passed on Tuesday.
Just the
Yes.
2024 national and local elections.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And so
Absolutely.
right there, those examples, two of the major swing states that folks
Yes.
knew, um, if the Democrats were going to defeat Trump, they needed those states.
They needed those states. So these are exactly targeted purges,
Mhm,
targeted challenges, right? All of
mhm.
that. Absolutely. All of that. Um,
And that is absolutely, at least I haven't heard yet, right? A story about this election that is not being told, right? The voter suppression.
Absolutely, which he also refers to in this blog, which I didn't copy, but yeah, he refers to that. He says, you're not going to, you'll get a little bit about voter ID laws, you'll get a little bit about some of the new tactics, that have come in, but not since I think when did we first hear about the um voting purges, which was from his
Mm,
research way back
really,
when. Was that in
it
Gore? Was
seems
that with
like
Gore?
it's since the last election, right? Efforts to purge rolls, etc. Right? These
Absolutely.
various voter
But
suppression things. So,
But
even
right,
in 2000, even in 2000,
hmm
uh, they were
Bush
purging.
versus Gore. Yeah,
Bush versus Gore, they were purging
hmm
voter rolls
absolutely.
in
hmm
Florida, especially.
Right,
Um, this this
right.
these tactics, again, the new age of attack on voting rights has been, oh, hey, we have to make this a free and fair election, and we can't do it if illegals are voting, if criminals are voting. Um, when uh,
Right.
so today, all of my discussion in class
Interesting.
at Cal State
Hmm
Northridge, my critical thinking classes, people said, "Oh yeah, it was a free and fair election, and proud to be part of this democracy." And I was like, "How do you know?"
Mm-hmm.
It's just like Trump was talking even before the results came in. Oh, there's cheating in Pennsylvania. And in 2020, oh, there's cheating, and this is a there's been fraud committed. I said the votes haven't been counted. How do you know? And just how do you know this was a free and fair election? We
Mm-hmm.
don't have the
Mm-hmm.
results. We don't have an analysis.
Right.
The
Mm-hmm.
facts aren't
Mm-hmm.
in. So
Mm-hmm.
don't declare it a free and fair election,
Mm-hmm.
especially when these tricks are constantly
hmm
being applied, sending
hmm
right wing
Mm-hmm.
agents,
Right.
militias to go watch the polls.
Absolutely.
Proud Boys
Mm-hmm.
talking about, yeah, we're going to monitor the polls. And
Right.
remember, there was just two members of the new Black Panther Party
Mm-hmm.
walking around looking like whatever with their little
hmm
uniforms on,
Mm-hmm.
and they made such a big stink about it. Now, Proud
hmm
Boys, who actually engaged in
Right.
terrorist acts,
Right.
who tried to help overthrow the government on
hmm
January 6th,
hmm
2021. Uh, they, we don't know. We don't know what kind of hijinks
hmm
and
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
bad faith efforts to purge the rolls
Yeah.
or to deny
Mm-hmm.
people the right to vote, and
Mm-hmm.
forcing people to fill out provisional ballots. And oh,
Mm-hmm.
we don't have a signature. They said a lot of students, since they weren't taught how to handwrite, that's like
Right.
out of the
Mm-hmm.
schools,
Right.
they didn't
Mm-hmm.
sign their ballots properly. So
Right.
I,
Right.
all of these
Really
things,
interesting. Mm.
we don't have the information to make a determination whether it was free and fair or not.
Fair or not. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just the parroting, that kind of unconscious parroting. But
hmm
that which you say about
hmm
the signature issue takes me to his next point. He says, then there's the issue of so-called spoiled ballots. The nasty little secret of US elections is that we don't count all the votes. Spoilage, quote unquote, is the fancy term in the vote counting biz for votes that are rejected for all kinds of reasons, from paper ballots that scanners couldn't read to ballots cast in the wrong precinct, and this kind of unsigned ballot piece
Mhm.
would fall in that category. And who knows, maybe there's something for damaged ballots or, any of these kinds of things. He goes on to say, now, if voters' spoiled ballots rejected were just a random thing, it wouldn't matter. But as I point out, and he plugs his film, this is, after all, his blog, The Best Democracy Money Can Buy, a black voter is 700% more 700% more likely than a white voter to have their ballot thrown in the reject dumpster, to be right, for spoilage
Mhm.
reasons. Um, we're talking about, by official count, 1 to 3 million ballots in our last presidential elections. So he says, do the math, Sherlock. If we counted all the votes, who really won? So, um, and then of course he has framed all of this, by saying he hasn't done the close research, the close work, but this was just his November 6th
Right. The quick
response, his
analysis.
immediate, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
just the quick analysis, what what they've come up with by following. So we do that in Brother Dawood's honor, and hopefully he will be proud when he
Yes.
gets a chance to see this. And yeah, and that this is a thing. There's so many people who aren't really cognizant, again, the lack of media coverage and the breakdown in community talking drum, community communications, who aren't really clear that the Voting Rights Act, how the Voting Rights Act was gutted and manipulated and hollowed, and
Right.
what immediate and the right and what was immediately seized upon, the moment being seized upon by
Mhm.
those states that were
Mhm.
closely monitored and controlled previously to inject, these new or new forms of
Mhm.
of suppression and obstruction, obstructing the vote. So yeah, the folks aren't watching, aren't paying
Mhm.
attention. I think we'll learn how. I think we got to see, got to see.
So you started with the importance of knowing that it isn't just Trump, right? And that the real kind of danger is are the people behind Trump and energized by Trump, and that is one of the stories of the election. The far right, the right, the center right was energized, right, and particularly right, the MAGA folks, the billionaire class, and they put all of their propaganda efforts were quite effective. And I think one of those effects there was not a lot of turnout um, on the other side, right? Turnout was much lower than they were hoping for, and it's the usual story. If you, more when more people turn out, right, Democrats tend to win because the Republican Party is a minority party. Its platforms are not nearly as popular as these election results and the sort of the kind of loudspeaker environment would make it seem, right. So a lot of people stayed home, but they weren't, they were just not energized by it. It was not enough to try to have another first, right, another first, a woman president. It just wasn't enough. um, people
Mm-hmm.
people wanted to punish the Democrats around Gaza. The campaign did put more effort in trying to bring over a certain number of certain Republicans rather than trying to energize the base. I mean, there was that. But really, white Americans in particular, right? The children of the settlers and their great grandchildren and everybody, they voted for traditional white patriarchal, whatever they think, going back to whatever, protecting what they, feel they're losing, the white replacement there. I mean, all of this, and a real kind of misogyny. And people don't want to admit, how hated Black people are. And, and they hate Black women in a particular way. They hate Black men in a particular way, right? And a lot of this plays out, right? It's what did they call it back? It was it 83 or something, 82, 83, the Bradley effect, right? When Bradley was leading in the California gubernatorial polls, and folks got in that booth, couldn't bring themselves to do it. A lot of that, but this is who they are. Yes, they saw the Proud Boys and others, and various sundry individuals, and try to overturn an election. Right? They have watched the people they have empowered. They have heard the people who worked in the first administration, who are not friends of the people, right? Or friends of any sort of humane kind of distribution of the wealth, say this man should not be in that seat anymore. He is unqualified. He is dangerous. They heard all that and they embraced it. They wanted it, right? People wanted it. This is who the United States is. It is racist. It is misogynist. It is violently homophobic, transphobic. They are energized in terms of their various forms of Christian nationalism. Yes. Protestants and these right-wing Catholics have made common cause, even though I know, how them folks are thinking about each other. You're actually going to burn in hell, but we can work together here on earth and shit, right? And I'm actually wondering myself, just from my own, background, where are the voices of radical? There is a radical Catholic tradition, right? There's a tradition. What is the Catholic Worker, newspaper, and Dorothy Day, and the Barracan brothers, right? I mean, there's a whole, but that's suppressed too, right? I mean, just like other, radical traditions have been suppressed. I've never thought it was, accidental, or at least thinking about it, when I look back, what's her name? Margaret Thatcher, Ronald Reagan, and Carol Wojtyla coming in at the same time, turning back, right? That leftist trend, right? And publicly scolding, revolutionary priest in Nicaragua, right? And the anti-communist Pope, right? And that energized and empowered this wing of these people. I've told these people want to go back to Latin and shit, right? So this is who's been energized, and and they know what they've chosen, right? And they've done so enthusiastically, right? And are ready to unleash some cruelty.
Yeah, and which takes me to Black Yogini. Responding, I would like to respond, and please y'all prepare to respond, but responding as a Black Yogini. And Brittany, I practiced for many years, and only recently, relatively recently, relative to my lifespan, stopped that practice. But the first thing I'm going to say to you is Uddiyana Bandha, to free up that root chakra where the fear is concentrated. Complete breath to keep the oxygen circulating. And I literally mean this, Black Yogini, because you are in constant practice. You have some tools at your disposal to manage these energies and to manage these tensions, but they're natural tensions because the body is sends up alarm when there is danger. So you're not incorrect. It's not like the danger and the palpable danger is not is unreal or some kind of illusion, and there's no contradiction in having all of these emotional states and being, as you're saying, feeling weighted down, but still spiritually in the journey of liberation. Yeah, it's a total effect. It's a total effect. The realities, and I'm speaking from my own experience in grappling with these kinds of spiritual, or philosophical questions. Yeah, there's no contradiction between, or let me say, there's no transcending what is happening. You know what I'm saying? And there's also no contradiction in your spiritual pursuit and the maintenance of those values, um, and absorbing what it is that is happening. Absorbing what it is that is happening, and um, I think it would be great for you to check out Buddhism and the Black radical tradition. I cannot remember the sister's name who wrote that, but it's a recently published book. But it deals with all of these kinds of yogic principles, and how these things come together. Um, what do you say in fear to fear? In standing against, well, I mean, fear is fear. It's an energy, but it's a motivator too. It's the energy of vigilance, right? It's the energy of alertness. So you challenge it, right? When I say you channel, I didn't mean challenge. You channel it, you focus it, learn more, reach out more, find organizations that are doing work that you can align with, and channel the energies. If speaking that language, it's Raja energy, it's fire energy, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that's what's needed, and you are well disposed to
Mm-hmm.
to transmute. You know what I mean? It's and it's nothing. Be comforted. It's nothing that we haven't faced before. You think people on the Underground Railroad weren't feeling fear? You think that folks, you know what I'm saying? The folks that think that Nat Turner's brigade didn't feel fear. You think that, you know what I'm saying? We embrace that knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Integrate all of these factors, of your spirituality. Um, you know, and let it bolster you. You get me. Let it bolster you, and just embrace it and come to a different level of realization. But there's no contradiction. You can be
Mm-hmm.
right where you are in the practice and absorb the real political dynamics that are going on. Keep learning, keep studying, embrace the history.
Can I ask a follow-up question? Actually, I want to ask James the question, sort of a follow-up, thinking about that violence, right? And who may be energized, now to be enacting that violence. So, James, I know you were about to say something, so you can go ahead and say what you were going to say, and then if you could come back around to what we might expect in terms of folks acting out um, that violence.
Okay, well, first, in addressing this question about fear, um, I didn't lose any sleep over the election. Didn't lose a wink of sleep. Of course, I'm not going to lose any sleep anyway, but uh, I was not worried, and I was not shocked. I thought then, and I think now, the words of uh, one of our great sages and poets, Gil Scott Heron. America, the international Jekyll and Hyde, the land of a thousand disguises, sneaks up but rarely surprises.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It's not surprising. Trump represents, he's talking about going back to the 1700s to look at law. He's talking about the going back, they're talking about going back to the 1800s for abortion
Mm-hmm.
law.
Mm-hmm.
He is he is a fundamental reactionary.
Yeah.
He is a fundamentalist reactionary.
Mm.
The other thing, words from Gil Scott-Heron and the Midnight Band, from the song Must Be Something We Can Do. We didn't come all this way just to give up. We didn't come all this time to say we've had enough. And other words, it's like, this is like, if you're a farmer, every day you have to go plow the fields, you have to plant, you have to till the soil. It's like a never-ending task. And if you're going to maintain your livelihood and the progress of your people on that farm, this is what you're going to have to do. There's no, I can stop now. It's just not. This is how life is. And while we're in this situation, a smaller number within this larger society, we are faced with this dictatorship of the majority. The majority says, we like Donald Trump. And even if it's not a true measure, even if there have been votes that have been thrown away, even if there have been people who couldn't even vote, it's like, it's not a normal thing. You have people supporting a felon, but uphold the laws that throw felons off the rolls. This dude couldn't get a job at 7-Eleven. He wouldn't be able to get a job.
About criminal background.
Yeah, he has a criminal. He's a criminal.
God.
You know, people talk about, well, Kamala Harris and this hatred and this fear of Black women, which has filtered down to Black men. And twice I heard, I haven't registered to vote in 30 years, but I'm going to vote. I'm going to register to vote so I could vote against Kamala Harris. That's like, this is why you're voting for the first time in 30 years? Because you're so fearful and hateful of this Black woman? This is something else. And that's the other thing. That's the other trick. Suppress the vote by convincing people voting doesn't matter. Or to chip away of support of the person that's most likely, you know, the Democratic candidate or whatever, to chip away at that by whatever means, to lie. Like this whole thing is like Kamala Harris slept her way to where she is in the political world.
Ridiculous.
That's like, are you joking? I mean, and I'm not going to use the crude language that I use in personal conversation, but do you think she performed that many millions of sex acts? You think because she had some kind of sexual romantic affair with Willie Brown, that propelled her through the Attorney General election, through the appointment to the Senate, to the vice presidency, and then to be selected and in lieu of what they considered a doddering old man, and she energized so many people. So, but you're trying to convince people she's a DEI hired, affirmative action, a sexual opportunist. It's ridiculous, but people fell for it. And see, that's the other thing. They are quoting, the right wing is quoting Malcolm X.
Yes.
Talking about the African-American field Negro and the African-American house Negro.
Terrible.
The African-American house Negro would be voting for Kamala, but the field African-American would be voting for Trump.
Right.
And
For the plantation owner. I mean, it's
Right.
just
it's like to chip away
that's all.
the vote. And the constant lies, that constant stream of lies
Yeah.
that was told, that were being pushed on
Yes.
people, but especially the Black community.
Yes.
Yes.
And I started hearing that way back, during the 2000 election.
Hmm.
I like Trump because he gave the ninjas stimmies and put bands in ninjas' pockets.
Yeah.
It's like
Mhm.
he didn't do nothing. All he did was delay the check so he could
No
put his
level
signature
of understanding.
Mm.
Right. Exactly.
and take credit.
That's right.
You know what? He had low Black unemployment. Biden,
What do you
and I'm not a
mean?
big fan of Biden.
No.
The Democratic Party
That's
Biden,
the point.
is the problem.
yeah, but Biden had the lowest Black unemployment ever.
Hmm.
But the lie was,
Mm-hmm.
well,
Mm-hmm.
it was so much better under Trump. Really?
Mhm.
Right.
How?
Right.
Really?
How
And,
so?
and, and people have short memories, right?
Yeah.
People have very short
Yeah.
memories, and
Yeah.
the lie is, it's a 24-hour,
Yeah.
lie, right? That's how the big lie works, right? You just keep telling the lie
Yeah.
because you only need margins, right? You just need to peel off a few percentages of
Yeah,
it,
just a few percent.
or
Yeah.
demoralize enough people so they
Here and
don't.
there.
And it's
So
effective.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
yeah, so my class and I, we were all looking at the statistics, and it's like, and it wasn't a majority. So people say, "Oh, it's Black men's fault." Well, no, 20% of Black men voted for Trump. 20%,
Mm-hmm.
one
Right.
out of
Mhm.
5. But
Right.
that
Right.
helped. That helped him. And
Yes, it did.
it's like, if you're gonna vote for Trump, don't vote for him because he did great things for Black people. Don't vote for him because he has great business sense. These are lies. Don't vote for him because he's gonna.
There's no evidence.
There's
Yeah,
none.
what's the
All the
evidence?
evidence is to the contrary.
Don't vote because he says he's going to protect women whether they like it or not. That's like you're going to talk about
Oh,
Kamala
God.
Harris is a sexual opportunist
Come on.
when this dude is
Come on.
a convicted criminal and
You heard it.
a certified,
Yes.
verified rapist
Yes.
or a sexual abuser at least.
An abuser multiple times,
Groper.
predator,
liar.
Well, everybody's
close friend
lying.
of Epstein, right?
Yeah.
And you heard it, and he said it in his own words, which is out of the news cycle, but he said it himself.
And that's important.
Oh, yeah.
Why is it out? These things are not out of the news cycle. All the various media, right, were complicit, right, and complicit in repeating the lies and not reporting.
Yes. Challenging.
Simply enough,
no
right?
challenge to the narratives. There's no substantive challenge to the layers of bullshit narrative. Even with the CRT, the attack on CRT, every now and then, and probably, and I don't know, well, I'm just going to venture to say, every now and then you hear in the mainstream media a corrective to the projection of what CRT actually is, what it means, the history of it. But if you are interested in correcting some kind of false premise, that would be all the conversation. No, that is not what CRT is. No, that is, what I'm saying? Not just
that is
here
not what it
there a little. If you know what I'm saying? If you are interested in, which is, what is it? Bernie Sanders and a million other people, a critique of the constant critique of these Democrats, is of the presumption that if the right is right, then is Republican, then the Democrats must be the left. But the constant critique, and to say it as Sanders is reported to have said it, is that they sold out the working class decades ago. This is not, decades ago. So also that we go back to some kind of fundamental lacks of understanding in so many areas, but this notion of, oh, the economy was better under this one, as if a whole new economy is born every 4 years
Right.
because
Right.
of the actions of an executive. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That is fundamentally television mentality. It's
Right.
fundamentally episodic. You know
Hmm.
what I'm saying? And utterly ridiculous. The economy, you know what I'm saying? Of what an economy of this size, what it takes to make differences in it, apart from like all of this artificial, say, price gouging and price setting and all of this kind of things, and all of the dance that gas prices seem to do, you know what I'm saying, at someone's whim. But in terms of, the accumulation of wealth and distribution of wealth and services and all of these kinds of things, this is not something that, so yeah. But who's attacking that fundamental untruth? Who is discussing that? They just
Right.
let that ridiculous
Yeah.
commentary go and allow it to continue to allow it to be a conversation based on perception rather than something substantial and
Mhm.
reinforcing
Yeah.
understanding.
Yeah.
So here we have it. We are
Mhm.
very gullible, we are very manipulable for fundamental
Underinformed,
reasons.
right? Misinformed
Fundamental
and
reasons. Lack
underinformed.
uninformed,
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
underinformed.
there's no
Can't
labor
this
report,
there's
right? There are business reports, and the business reports don't
huh.
really explain how the economy works, right? There's a business section in
Mm-mm,
newspapers. There are business channels, right? It's they're not
mhm,
thinking about the workers. There's no perspective, right? Coming from they're in the
mhm.
mainstream, and of course these are they're corporate media companies, right? They're for-profit companies, and I don't even know. Maybe in some cases, their media division or their news division of the media division, maybe um, if they're able to
mm,
accept, might run at a deficit, right? That they can write off, but not typically. I mean, everything has got to be making profit, right?
mhm.
And so they're not going to explain the economy, because if people really understood the economy,
Yes.
people, as workers and as consumers, right, would know what their power is. As renters, right, would understand,
Hmm.
what they can and cannot do, right? And, um,
Mhm,
I want people knowing about the effectiveness of rent strikes, right? And
mhm.
general strikes, right? And our people, that's why you got to go online to find the positive leftist news, right? You got to go on YouTube to find. There is no positive leftist news on, the so-called most liberal or progressive, MSNBC, right? They don't have a
Please.
regular labor report, there, and they accept the, sort of the fundamentals, right, of the capitalist economy, and completely ignore, or at least it's tangential, the relationship of the economy to these colonial and neo-colonial relationships, right? It's just really about competing with China or not, or yeah, or the euro or not.
Yeah. But
BRICS.
this is where, again, if you're going to quote Malcolm X,
Mm,
you're going to misquote Malcolm X talking about who's voting for who, which is just a ridiculous
mhm.
field African American, House African American. Even that's stupid. My mother told me that
Mhm.
when I was young. She said, the house Negro is the one who could poison the master, put ground glass in
Exactly.
the food.
Ground glass. Right.
Yeah,
Uh,
so many
Yeah.
ways, right?
yeah, and what the I think the most um, applicable quote of Malcolm X, if you're going to apply it to this election, is you've been misled, you've been had, you've been took, you've been
Hoodwink.
bamboozled, led
Bamboozled.
astray,
Yes.
misdirected, uh,
There it is.
and that those lies were not challenged. And
Right.
and I'm thinking, like, I saw just a little bit. Like I said, I was like, I can't even. Uh,
Mm.
Well, we lost
Oh,
James, but he'll likely be right back again.
yeah. Yeah.
He will likely. In fact, there he is. Just that quickly. Let's get him back
Yeah.
on
Good.
stage. Yep.
Good.
Yeah, but when I heard, I haven't seen the whole speech, but Kamala Harris says, "Well, it was a free and fair election. We should be proud of democracy." How do you know? You know, like we were just talking about. How do you know? You
How do
don't
you
know.
know?
And
You
it
don't.
reminded me of what's his name, Al Gore,
Mhm.
congratulating George
Yes.
Bush, and then it's like, oh, maybe I
Yes.
said it prematurely, and then we don't
Mhm.
know what's going on for weeks.
Right.
Why would you say that? You don't
Right.
have the evidence because
You
it's
don't
nice
know.
and proper. These people
Exactly.
had a dang insurrection at the Capitol, and people died, and that
Mm-mm.
property was damaged,
And
Yes.
property
and
is
people were
damaged.
scared.
Yes.
And
Yes.
we and Yusuf, what you were talking, you said, what about this possibility of violence? It was in Alabama. Students got emails
Mhm.
uh, talking about report to whatever, trying to terrify black students.
Mhm.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
This
the
is on
right,
election day
I think it was today.
today. Okay.
Something about show up to the plantation or show up to
Right.
the
Mm.
courthouse, something like that. Yeah.
So
Yes.
they already started.
Over here on it was the 10th or 11th Avenue across the street from Crenshaw High. Somebody said niggers should die.
So just quickly, they're feeling emboldened just that quickly. And so
Yeah,
that 20% of black
Right.
men that folks are trying
Right.
to say, you're voting for the Klan.
Right. Right.
yeah, and
Right.
it's like, no, he said he
Right.
didn't agree with the statement on Puerto Ricans. Well, what about the statement on shithole countries? What about
Right.
this whole
Come on now.
long
From his own
trail
mouth.
of racist rhetoric that he's done? What about I wouldn't hire a black
A black.
to
That's right.
to do my books. I want a short dude with a yarmulke uh,
Right.
Mhm.
to handle my
Right.
financial affairs.
Right.
And he goes to the National Association of Black Journalists, and they say we shouldn't have. A lot of people think you shouldn't have been invited because of your racist rhetoric. And then he
Mhm.
immediately launches into racist rhetoric.
And
He's
there
like,
you go.
hates you.
Can't help
He
it.
hates you.
Because it's
And
who he
then,
is, right?
yeah, that's who he is.
Yeah.
He's telling you who he is.
This
Uh,
worldview,
yeah. So,
unadulterated. Yeah.
this whole, um, like I said, my neighbor was like, I got to get the day after the election. A lot of sour-faced black women walking around,
Mhm.
like the night before at the Crenshaw Baldwin Plaza. The line went from the voting room, the polling place, almost to the opposite door.
Wow.
People lined up, very proud to vote.
Mhm.
And she said, you know what? I'm trying to get my stuff done because before people start acting up, and
Mhm.
people going to act up. If
Mhm.
people act up, there will be
Mhm.
a response, like we've
Mhm.
already
Mhm.
talked about: racist
Mhm.
Mhm.
graffiti, Nazi
Mhm.
graffiti,
Mhm.
Klan attacks,
Yes.
oath keepers, all these things we've been talking about for years.
Yes.
And they're very proud and very happy to
Yeah,
have their guy in the office. Like I just found
Yes.
out
exactly.
that
Yes.
this is a symbol. I mean, I knew it was a white supremacist symbol, but it's white power.
Mhm.
This
Mhm.
power,
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah.
white power. It's
Mhm.
like, oh, this is like
Okay.
a
Mhm.
long time ago. Somebody had some SWP tattooed on their arm, and somebody's
Mhm.
like, oh, like Socialist Workers Party. No, supreme white power.
Ah.
Right. Right.
So we have this atmosphere,
Yeah.
like
Yep.
what during the with the debate, deny the Proud Boys. Okay, Proud Boys. He said, name somebody. Proud Boys. Stand back and stand by. He didn't say stand down.
Not
He said
stand down,
stand by.
No.
He said
Right.
not
stand by.
disband,
Right.
no.
That's all.
Wait for your
Uh,
orders. Yes.
But
yeah, it's just to wait for your orders and wait till he gets into office and pardons these people who had to do
And that's about
with
to
this
happen. Right.
attacking people. And
absolutely. Absolutely. And the disconnect, I mean, it goes to show that some of these things are like givens up to a certain generation, and it goes to show how much context and background matters in understanding a discrete information, a discrete parcel of information,
Mhm.
Mhm.
just in terms of even just what is just obvious to some of us as racist rhetoric can be so easily um, um, turned around and turned, oh, but that doesn't mean he's racist. That's just a this and that's just that, because of a lack of context, because of a
Mhm.
lack of background, because of a lack of, right, a kind of a historical understanding, a historical take, and folks don't, there's a level of comfort, there's a place at which we can't imagine. When I say we, I'm not talking about us and people in our generation, but there's a way that so many of us cannot imagine the kind of visceral pressure that we have existed in from the white settlers, right? In for most of our history here.
Mhm.
For most of our history here, it has not been. It's been in my lifetime. I was born in 1968, right? Voting Rights Act was what, signed in 65. You
Yeah.
know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? It's been in my lifetime, in our lifetimes. We're
Hmm.
60s babies, right?
Mhm.
That Black people have been able to, the conventional uh, um, integration, or that kind of, we have access to public spaces
Oh
and
yeah,
walk
yeah,
around with
that access, right?
information.
That access to public space,
Access,
exactly.
yeah,
Access to public facilities, and
and all of that.
yeah,
So when we'll begin to understand, we'll begin to hearing stories. This fool wouldn't let me do this, or was trying to say, and all these, we're going to hear a lot of, you can't do that. And then we're going to hear a lot of, oh yes we can, we reserve the right to refuse and whatnot, because they're going to start testing
Mhm.
their status. They're going to start testing, well, let's see what we can do, let's see folks, that, and again, because there's a whole generation of them who haven't had the opportunity to freely exercise, you know what I'm
Right,
saying,
and who
but
feel
they're going
like
to test
their
it.
time has arrived,
Their
right?
time has
That
arrived,
they're,
and
so
they're
they
going to
can
test
be
it. Folks,
as openly white, so to speak,
for,
as they want to be,
and I would say, I would
and not have to
suggest,
apologize.
and not have to apologize, but I would suggest for even those for whom it hasn't occurred, for even those
Mhm.
who would decry, you know what I'm saying, that they had any kind of racism, or who haven't even been interested in it, you
Mhm.
know what I'm saying, are going to test out this
Mhm.
their recovered white status and see what it's like. The notorious Karens, they're already, about that. The Karen characters, you know what I'm saying? They understand it, they exercise it, and we're just gonna start seeing more and more of that as this um um, space, as they try to reclaim their country, reclaim this
Yes.
space. And I say their country facetiously because of all
But it
that.
is their country in a very real sense, also. I
In
mean,
a, yes,
this is what has just been asserted.
yeah,
The whole notion that it is a white man's country,
a white man's
like South
country.
Africa was asserted to actually be a white man's country.
Yes,
So I
stolen
know
here
exactly
and
what
there.
you mean, but yeah,
Yes.
that's what they're saying, though, right? We are taking our country back from y'all,
Hmm.
whomever y'all
Yeah.
are. This is immigrants and criminals and people. Are you not reading the coded message of who the criminals are? Who they imagine criminals to be in their mind, because they never think of themselves.
No.
Well,
Whatever the raw
Oh
number.
no.
yeah. But what this is, and this is one of the things that's really baffling. Black people as a whole were revolted by the murder of George Floyd on television.
Mhm.
revolted and
Yeah.
revolting
Yeah.
over the murder of all these black folks who were killed unjustifiably and brutally by the police. And then you have the response of this person who's going to probably be put into office. We're going to have a day where the police can do whatever they want, and it's going to be brutal and be as brutal as you want, like an hour of bloody brutality. And people accepted that, including 20% of black male voters. Black women have always been that, hell no. I asked my class, I said, why do you think black women have been so anti-Trump? The demographic that is the most anti-Trump in this country. They said because they have a history of sexual abuse at the hands of white men, of marginalization, of people hating them, people denying their beauty. And yet this country embraces this guy who glories in that. Who glories in it.
Yes.
Remember what he said about Kamala Harris? Oh, I want to hire the guy who put, I think it was the New Yorker or something, painted her picture. She didn't have a photograph. She had a picture.
Right.
And she looked as beautiful as Melania.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, right.
All of his
she could
frustration
never
was
be
showing.
as, huh?
I said all of his frustration was showing in that moment.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And just like that ugly black bee. That's, I mean, that's he may as well have said it. Like a Michelle Obama. She's so nasty to me. I only treated her right. You were the nastiest thing in the media.
Did he treat her
for the last 12, for the last 8-9 years?
Yeah,
you were the nastiest thing.
And
talk about grabbing women by the
maybe even 16, right? From when the Obamas became national. Yeah, been just horrible.
He's foul mouth, like you say, homophobic, but demonstrating oral sex on a microphone. What the hell?
My God.
So trash.
Nasty.
I have not seen. I have not seen.
You didn't see that? Oh,
I didn't see it. The imitation of, I know about his juvenile.
Was right when he said he could shoot somebody in Times Square.
Absolutely.
Like nothing seemed to, just vile, right? Nothing.
Yeah,
more people voted for him, right? More.
Yeah.
It's wild.
And it's and that's it. I can do anything. I can appoint Bobby Kennedy to take care of all the health care.
You know what? It's because it's God complex. You are literally, the white supremacy literally offers the European God-like status. Who's going to give that up? Who's going to give that up? The way, you know what I'm saying? The way people will act out over, the way we will act out over some red bottom shoes. Who's going to give up in a Gucci bag? Who is going to give up God-like status?
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
And
that's what it offers. And that's like, all these white men going into places and, mass shooters tend to be white men. Never mind the access to firearms and whatnot. But that entitlement that I can, you know what I'm saying? That even in my sick expression, you know what I'm saying? In my breakdown rage or whatnot, that I have the entitlement to go somewhere and just kill everybody. Just kill everybody. I'm not even talking about, sure, I can kill a bunch of black people, a bunch of brown people, or whatever. But, I'm met with, so many of these people have domestic violence histories and whatnot. I'm mad at this bitch. Excuse me. Oops, I didn't say that on our little channel. Excuse me. I take it back. I'm mad at this B. I'm gonna go kill her the kids, her family, anybody that happens to be around. You know what I'm saying? And that's that, right? The power and
Right.
the entitlement, the privilege to take a life.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and go
Oh,
on.
I'm sorry.
No,
No,
go on.
but along with that is what Yusuf said. This is not about one person. It's not really about Donald Trump. This is about this system, this capitalist system, the system of imperialism, where you can massacre tens of thousands of people. You supply the arms to massacre tens of thousands of people and say, I can't do anything. You don't have decent health care. You don't have decent education. You have a system that's built on the exploitation of workers, up and down, of destroying labor unions.
Yes.
It's a system. It's a system of oppression. It's a system of economic exploitation. It's not just Donald Trump. He's just the latest manifestation and one of the most backward manifestations. It's like he constantly proves that that white superiority, white intellectual superiority, is a myth. It's about brutality. It's about doing whatever it takes to accomplish your goals, to maintain supremacy, to take the land, to exploit, to assassinate foreign leaders, and take to the resources from other nations. Like I said, much less give the land back. Take more.
Right.
So he's just the latest thing. You can be as backwards and nasty and sickening and exploitive and misogynistic and racist and anti-labor, and he's speaking to a crowd of people who are laborers, and it's like, I hate paying overtime. I just fire him and get a whole bunch of other people.
And they voted for him anyway.
And they voted for him anyway.
Wow.
Because somehow he is a regular guy or some madness.
What?
And this devil doesn't even, I want to work the French fries counter. There's no such thing as a French fries counter. What are you talking about? So they have a fake, they fake that he's a worker.
Wow.
He lies. And again, these lies that he tells. Yeah. Kamala Harris never worked at McDonald's. How do you know?
And you don't know that. You just say,
just a liar. And
one thing that I think that has been reinforced, and that they've something that they've really learned through Donald Trump's career, is that you really can say anything and get away with it. People really are profoundly ignorant, because it's not all his mysterious charisma. You know what I'm saying? Some of it is just there is no fact checking. Like, so many people were so glad that they fact checked during the debate. They did some fact checking.
Sometimes the fact check doesn't matter.
No, and I'm not saying this makes a difference. Right. You know what I'm saying?
It should be fact checked.
Yes.
And then he gets angry if he says, you could come, we want you to come, but they say, oh no, but you're going to fact check. We don't want you to fact check.
What?
So you're saying you're going to lie.
That's not a red flag? Right.
And they said, what about this eating the dogs and the cats? Okay, yeah, that was a lie, but what about the geese? Come on now.
What about the geese?
What about the geese? What the hell?
But
what about the dogs and cats?
He's already primed the audience, though, right? Because the election, if I lose, the election was rigged against me, and the media always lies unless they're telling stories about me that I like.
Right.
Yes.
And people believed it, right? I mean, people, I can't say it, and people believed it. There is a lack of critical thinking, as you mentioned, Tasha, the information gap being filled with misinformation and disinformation. And, the result of several decades of dismantling the public education system. I mean, all of this is quite deliberate, right? along with the dismantling of the unions, and even before that,
Mhm.
purging
Mhm.
of any kind of leftism in the unions whenever they could.
Mhm.
And yeah, the
Mhm.
very deliberate dumbing down, right,
Mhm.
dismantling
Mhm.
of any sort of real public education, a
Mhm.
constant attacks on the curriculum, any curriculum that's trying to offer a fuller version of history, encourage students to be critical, which means you got to step back out of yourself. But no, right? It's got to be a patriotic, America first. It's again, we've used the language before. It is the civic religion, right? The civic religion of patriotism, American patriotism. Right? It's very, and this is what we get, right? So people are ready to believe the billionaire and the other billionaires, and that they have their best interest in mind. How clearly they must be smart. How
Yes.
they become billionaires.
Right.
There's no understanding of again, the systems of exploitation, etc.
And
Right? Or that all
intergenerational
the
wealth.
drugs get, they're what they call them, they're trust fund babies and shit, right? They're
Yes.
they're robber baron parents. This
Mhm.
Elon Musk, it got a bunch of inherited money, right? He didn't build nothing from scratch. This
Please.
And do
Please.
you think there's going to be an investigation of how much money he gave Trump so he could just appoint him to do
right.
whatever the hell he
Mm-mm.
wanted?
Or
Nah,
the
it's not
other
going to
votes
happen.
that he was buying, and then a Republican appointed judge decided, oh no, it's okay.
Terrible.
Whatever he was doing was
That it's
okay.
fine.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
saw, well, we
That's
are,
all.
well, actually, we're like 27 minutes over time, and there's
Yeah.
still stuff we haven't gotten to.
Yes.
Like, some
As
of these other
promised in the
folks
description.
behind the Trump, these dark Enlightenment folks, and really the folks behind Vance. What is the meaning of the Heritage Foundation? Their readiness to implement their Project 2025.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then what we're going to do, right? How folks need to be organizing. Um, and I have to go to Sprouts before it closes. So please, go make my contribution to whatever billionaire owns that corporation.
Right.
All right.
So I'm proposing we continue this conversation
Yes.
next week.
Absolutely.
Keep rolling. Because one thing I did want to talk about, so I guess I'll add this. Daruba bin Wahad, and some comments he made the other day with talking to Jared Ball. And really, so first thing Jared did was replay an interview from after the 2016 election. And Daruba called for it. Again, United States, America, they've shown who they are. It's time to organize a united front, an anti-fascist united front. And
Mm-hmm.
so we doubled down on that. So now they
Mm-hmm.
have really shown you who they are, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's
Mm-hmm.
no
Yeah.
way to deny because of everything
Yeah.
we've been talking about, right? And
Yeah.
they voted enthusiastically for it. And those
Mm-hmm.
who did vote, because again, a lot of people stayed home, but that
Mm-hmm.
too, right, is a demonstration of the crisis.
Mm-hmm.
So that even more, right, it's time for an anti-fascist united front. And he called out some organizations by name. He called out the three alternative, the third, fourth, and fifth party, so you expressed a willingness during the campaign. Now the campaign's over, right? So it's the PSL, the Green Party, and whatever Cordell's new party is, for the Party for Justice, something like that,
Mm-hmm.
Freedom and Justice. But so we can talk about that too, possibilities for united fronts, because it's even if the Democrats had won,
Yes.
if Harris had won, if they had kept the Senate, and I still don't know what's up with the House at this point. Last I heard, it was a tie. We were still going to need to organize, right, and organize for liberation, still organized an anti-fascist front, all that stuff. Done, it's just now it's maybe a little more intensified because of the energized far right, and very across class levels too, the way in which they are energized and organized. We'll pick
Yes.
that up next week.
You available, James Simmons?
Yes, I guess so.
Right on.
Okay.
Yeah, next Thursday, same time.
Yeah, but quickly, I want to say at the Black Panther Party breakfast.
Yes.
Um,
Thank you.
This coming Sunday, 10 a.m. at Simply Wholesome, there will be the program theme will be embracing self-determination. One, the children of Russell Maroon Schultz, a political prisoner who escaped, what they call him, Maroon, famous for escaping, member of the Black Panther Party, Black Liberation Army. His children will be present. There will be a program on Saturday at Chaos, and followed up by the Panther Breakfast.
Okay.
So they'll be present to talk about his book, Maroon's book. Also, the 10th anniversary of the African People's Liberation Tribunal is this year. I'll be doing a presentation along with Tani Cesare Shimarenga to talk about, number one, why we did it. Number two, what's going on now, and the moves to allow this miscreant, this torturer, this thief, this who brought shame on the revolutionary movement, so-called General Taco, Mr. Colton. There'll be an update on that, and again, marking 10 years of a successful effort to freeze him out, so he couldn't harm people, at least in LA, and pretty much the preventing him ultimately, even though a lot of people said, "Oh, we don't know what this is, and this is a good guy." His organization has pretty much fallen apart. So we'll be talking about
that's this Sunday.
This Sunday, 10 a.m., Simply Wholesome on Slauson.
Yes. And what time on Saturday for Chaos Network?
I wish I could tell you right offhand, but I can't. I think, I don't want to say and it'd be wrong, but you should look it up.
I think I can. I believe I have the flyer here. Is this it? Oh yeah, this is it. 6 p.m.
Okay.
And actually it says November 9th on this. Is that, Chaos Network?
That's Saturday.
That is Saturday. Yeah, right.
Saturday.
Because tomorrow's the 8th. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right on. So 6 p.m. Chaos Network Saturday.
Right on.
What is that? Right. Is that 40? That's not 43rd. What is that? 43rd?
Yeah, 43rd and Lamert, on the corner of 43rd Place and Lamert, not 43rd Street. 43rd Place and Lamert. The People's Plaza, which they've paved over, so all the Adinkra symbols are gone. Hopefully, they'll correct that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But kind of like the Black August Pan-African Women's Day mural at the former Rafiba Center, they're tearing the wall down.
Are they? Okay.
Yeah, it's partly torn down.
Okay.
Hopefully, they will correct that and not just obliterate every symbol of movement for
exactly,
African liberation.
We'll see.
Part of the counterinsurgency. But we'll pick it up next week. So
right on, and we look forward.
Yes, we do. Thank you, James. This was, fantastic and necessary. And thank you, Tasha. Folks out there in YouTube land, please subscribe to our channel where you can get some more of these conversations, and we can even direct you to some, other folks. Like and share, please. And if you're on Facebook watching us, you can do the same, whatever the equivalents are. Please get the word out, share this. And we will see you next week.
Yeah,
7 p.m. Pacific time on the another Joko Conversation.
yeah, and I hope that people call in if they want to cuss us out and
Yeah.
challenge what we say. As one of the members of the community, intellectuals, rescue me if I'm wrong. You think we're wrong?
Rescue me if I'm wrong.
Rescue me if I'm wrong.
You know, come on.
There you go.
Criticism
Rescue me.
is welcome.
Yes.
At least for me, criticism is
That's
welcome.
right.
Well,
Let's talk about it.
we could stand to replace this anti-intellectual culture with a pro-intellectual
Mhm.
culture, and that requires deliberation, that requires exchange, that's right, stretching out the attention span again, so we can have
Mhm.
sustained discussion and beginning to practice civil discourse.
Right.
And how do we have some actual political debate and discussion and all kinds of
Mhm.
debate and discussion
Mhm.
um, in this, let's create some
Yes.
actual
Yeah.
democratic space and a democratic culture. That
Okay. What does Joko mean?
Joko is a Yoruba word that means sit down, and a Joko in whichever community in Yoruba land, because I, got that terminology from a repatriate priest, right? And asked him, so this is, what I'd like to do. How do we name it? A Joko is a sit down. Let's sit down and reason. Let's sit down and
We're gonna
argue.
sit
Let's
down
sit
and
down and
reason
resolve
together.
the
Yes.
conflict. Yes,
Yeah.
let's sit down together, right? And reason through it. So that's what it's about. That's what
Right.
it's about. That's how right, human beings have actually resolved conflict for millennia.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do it. You got to dig
In
into it.
Yep.
the best humane way.
Yep. Let's
Yes,
get deep. Yeah.
let's
Yeah.
get deep. Right on.
Right on, folks.
All right.
I'll see you in a minute.
Yes.
Thank you, audience out there. We are finished for the night. Joko Collective, we again say, free the land, free Africa, free Palestine, free Turtle Island, free yourself. Good night, folks.